All right, guys, I got hit up to do a comparison and contrast of the Whiskey-3 compared to the new C4 chassis, which I just picked up last week. I was going to have the Whiskey-3 with me. Unfortunately, somebody wanted to buy it already, a good friend of mine, so that gun or that chassis is gone as of this morning. So I'm just going to talk through the differences without being able to show you guys side by side, unfortunately. All right, so I'm going to work from barrel to recoil pad. Number one, the enclosed forend option is what I had on the Whiskey-3. This only comes in enclosed forend option. They changed the name to the Inlet Shroud or Optic Inlet Shroud. You have the extended and the standard. I have the standard, which I'm going to zoom in really quick so you guys can see it as I'm talking. All right, so the extended really just means that this piece is shorter. So it comes to maybe like right here where this fourth screw hole is. I'm not 100% sure. I just know that I didn't want it because my arms are short. So my issue was with the Whiskey-3 is when I reached forward to control my rifle, I couldn't grab the inlet shroud or the enclosed forend as the Whiskey-3 is called, and I was grabbing the barrel. So I had to put my thumb over here on the weights, which was causing me to torque my gun to the left slightly, which I was able to compensate for. But now I don't need to because I can get proper positioning squared up with the target in the rifle and still be able to get my thumb over the top to do a downward pressure as opposed to a downward left pressure. Okay. So like I said, that's the big key for this. You have the two options, extended or standard. This is the standard. Like I said before. Let me slide this thing, rotate this a little bit. So what we have next, as you guys can see, with the Whiskey-3, it did not come with anything on the bottom, but you had the ability to buy an ARCA rail, a spacer, or both separately. The C4 comes with the ARCA rail built into the chassis, so it's part of the system. With my my Whiskey-3, I had to buy the ARCA XL Heavy, and then I also ended up buying a spacer to get that ability to lock into any ARCA stuff. Not a huge issue, right, for those that don't run ARCA, but for me, I am running ARCA, so it's nice to already have that built in, not having to spend an extra $100 to get that attachment and then add it to the system. Same external weights as before, the KRG-Ops C external weights. The difference is I'm running too long as opposed to a long and a short, because with the Gen 6, I had the QD plates right here. So I had to put a short here and a long here because I couldn't fit too long. So I was able to change that up now because if I want to add a QD for a sling, I can put it here, or I can slide this forward and, I just had the option to change it around, which I didn't have before. There's only one spot where that had to go. You cannot see it because they're already in, but here, right, to remove your inlet shroud, you just take these 6 screws out and this piece pops off. Then you can pull your guts out and you can put internal weights. So they have internal weights that are custom to the C4 chassis. I believe they're about 6 inches long, 6.5. One would sit here, one sits back here. They screw in internally, and then you can throw your guts back in, torque your action screws down, throw your shroud back on, and torque your inlet shroud back on. With the Gen 6, I had to take this whole front end off to slide that T-slot internal weight in, tighten down, I think the 14 screws or whatever it was, and then attach my spacer and my ARCA rail on the bottom, and after I put the shroud back on and reattached it. So it's much easier to get those in and out if I wanted to, without having to disassemble the entire chassis system just to get to the inside if I want to pull those weights out or keep them in. Next, we have, let me adjust real quick. There's 6 slots on each side, 3 here and the 3 under the quiver for you to put the quiver wherever you want, as far as these 2 spots or left and right. I chose to go up here just so as I'm manipulating the bolt, I don't have an issue of trying to get those screws in and smacking the bolt, or having to maneuver around that situation. I just keep them up here so they're out of the way, pull them out, go straight in, and rock and roll. Okay, so I'll slide it around real quick just so you can see the holes. And that's what the holes look like right there. Like I said, 3 in the front, 3 in the back, lined up with the magazine well or just under the barrel. Okay, and then I'm gonna have to unhook really quick and we'll come to the bottom. So down here, just because it's easier, we've got the mag well, right? So you've got the block here, the barricade stop. It's thicker, so you don't have to worry about when you put a mag in, which I'll do real quick, just so you can see. It gives you more space, so if you're up against a barricade or something, or your bag, it doesn't have to travel more before it hits the mag and causes the mag to move. As you can see here, the mag barely moves, which will lead me into the next part, which is here. You've got I'm gonna call it the mag sizer or mag spacer. You loosen these 2 screws, and you can slide this forward and back when you have the mag in, so it seats all the way up against the mag, and then you tighten it back down to keep that mag from wobbling forward and back. And it's got these springs in here, which you can tighten. You can pull these out, you can bend them, and then re-put them back in if you have a skinnier mag, and that keeps the wobble from going this way and this way. All right, or if you're running a double stack mag, you can pull those out completely, then slide your double stack in there like an AW mag, and it'll fit nice and snug and have no issues. Okay, so those are the 2 options that are going on in the magazine well now that you didn't have before with the Whiskey-3. You did have the ability to buy a mag spacer from a third party, and then you'd have to take the gun all apart, put it in there, tighten it in, and then put it all back together, see if it worked, and play with it that way. You don't have to do that anymore. All right, we'll swing back around. Let me make sure you guys are lined up. All right, and then we have, coming over here to the back end of the rifle, pistol grip. I have the thumb rest option, which brings a thumb rest here. Put your hand, your thumb, once you get your established pistol grip. It's got this extended piece here that's attached on. You can take it off if you want, if you don't like it. But for me, I like it because it helps give me that an indexing point for that 90-degree trigger press by basically running my thumb here. Running my index finger here and then bringing it up on the trigger, dropping my thumb in, and it gives me 90 degrees so I can feel that I'm good in more than one spot than just trying to feel the trigger and having to like find a spot on the trigger shoe by itself. So it just doubles up that ability to make sure you have a proper trigger finger, so when you go to engage your target, you're getting a direct squeeze back instead of slightly left or right or dragging the trigger. Okay, let me make sure you guys can see. All right, let's bring this over a little bit better. All right, and then the back end here, you find a couple pieces. You have an adjustable bag rider. So you lose the ability to put a weighted bag rider on here, like my Whiskey-3 had. Right, my Whiskey-3 had the flat, heavy bag rider weight. You could also get the angled one, or you could just get the standard one, which was about 3 fingers wide. So what they did was they added this slots here, so you could buy stock weights. You can put them back here in the back, otherwise they don't come with this. And these same weights, you can get one inside the pistol grip if you needed to add a little bit more for the back end for balance. I do not have one in, but it is an option if you needed it. Okay, and then bring it over, make sure you guys can see this last piece. I'm actually gonna do this. Sorry if it gets wobbly. I'm trying to balance on the tripod. So here, I got the overmolded cheek piece. So it's longer here by about a ½ inch to an inch, and it's wider by about 3/4 of an inch. So it gives you more of a stock feel. So like if you ran an A5 or like a Manor stock or a Cadex stock, where it was more just like a U shape and it was wider when you put your head behind the gun. So that way, when you come behind the gun, you just fall right into place, which is more natural for me. It may not be for everybody. When I had the other one on the Whiskey-3, it was the skinnier standard one. I found myself having to push my head to the right more, and I can't see it, but I was pushing my head to the right more, which was causing my shots to go off to the left. Usually about 0.1, 0.2, every once in a while 0.3, even at 100 yards when I was doing paper drills. So having this, it allowed me to drop the cheek piece a little bit more, and I can naturally just go right into that chipmunk cheek if I didn't have a dip in that was, you know, right where I would normally put my cheek. So those are the main things that I would say are the big compare contrast. Again, sorry I didn't have the Whiskey-3 to do a side-by-side. But like I said, I needed to recoup some money because, again, this chassis is not cheap. And that's basically what you got going for you. Oh, I will add just last minute kicker since I skipped over it. I'll slide you around real quick. Last 30 seconds. On the grip here, right when you get that thumb rest, it only comes in the standard side on the right side where that attachment is and the thumb rest is. But here it's a standard one. So if you wanted to get a medium or a large, you know, or change the colors, you can do all that with here, right? You just buy that grip set. You could swap out the left side. So if you did want it thicker, you can't do it on the right-hand side though. The right-hand side, if you want this overmolded piece, it's going to be the one option. But the left side, you can play around and do what you want. That's the last thing. Sorry, I skipped that in the first time. So if you guys have any questions, please hit me up, and I'll go over anything in particular, specifically that you'd like to see about the new chassis. All right, guys, I'll see you.